The 7th round of the 2003 Champ Car season took place in the land of good wine, arrogant people, and a new ban on Skittles, California. We're at Laguna Seca this time around, and what a race we have on our hands. I got warned by a commenter a few weeks ago that this race was going to be boring, and I took that warning to heart. So after the last time I did this got an overall positive reception, the stopgap solution from now on will be that if any race is overly boring, the corresponding video will be nowhere close to serious. But there's some news-related business that I've got to cover before the start, and I need to treat it seriously. I had a music teacher back in elementary school. His name was Dr. Gongo, and he was originally from Nigeria. He'd often impart wisdom on the class, and despite the fact that 10 years has passed and he's unfortunately passed away since then, there's one quote from him that sticks with me. If an old man gives you a chicken, you must treat it like a tuba. Place your hands properly and wash it every Wednesday. Despite the fact that I've never held a tuba, or a chicken for that matter, I've lived my life by that statement ever since. I feel the need to treat this driver news with the same respect. So to talk about it in a professional manner, what I was originally going to do was record this next piece after I got home from the dentist on October 16th. This would have been right after a cavity filling, with my face entirely numb from the lidocaine. So you can imagine my disappointment when I went in today and they said I needed a root canal. This is doubly disappointing, because not only do I need a root canal, the only bit that I was looking forward to in this video had to be abandoned. So in the biggest blue balls moment since Lola Bunny's redesign for Space Jam 2, here is a lidocaine-free silly season report. In the world of Champ Car between the races in Milwaukee and Laguna Seca, there were multiple shuffles. For the 4th time this season, Dale Coyne Racing would switch up their lineup. Walter Salas, who was drafted in as a temporary replacement for Alex Young, had now been replaced himself by Jeff Boss, a one-time winner in the Indy Lights Series back in 1999. Boss brought in funding from fashion company La Costa and would stay with the team through to the end of the year. But as one driver came in with a French sponsor, a French driver was left on the sidelines. Patrick Lemarié, after a rough start to the year, was at a PK Racing. The team wanted a trusty Laguna Seca hand for this round, so they drafted in Brian Herta. Herta was in the midst of a full-time season in the Indy Racing League with Andretti Green Racing, but for this round and this round only, he was brought in as a replacement. Stay tuned next week because this is far from the end of the driver news. Qualifying was pretty dramatic, with Michel Jourdain Jr. setting the fastest time, then getting disqualified for running underweight. Patrick Carpentier would inherit the pole position, sharing the front row with Bruno Junqueira. Jourdain would start down 13th, a really upsetting position to start as a championship leader. Jeff Boss would be our last place starter. The pre-race was a tad abridged, so we don't have anything else to talk about before the race. Really, with how the race went, I could end the video right here. After a completely unorganized start where Carpentier was hit by his teammate and everyone scrambled, the initial start was waved off. It seemed like Bob Varsha didn't get the memo though, as he called it like they took the green.
And now the field forms up side by side. Flagman J.D. Wilbur has the flag. We've got some tire smoke from the middle of the first few rows. It gets a bit scrambled, 3 and 4 wide. Everybody wants to lead lap 1 at Laguna Seca. It is so difficult to pass as they head for the Andretti hairpin.
In fairness, you can't really blame the guy if he was only half awake. The second time around, we would grab the green, and it was Carpentier holding onto the lead, some off-roading in the back of the pack, and a nice battle between Herta and Jourdain. And that's about it. Barely over a tenth of the way into this race, I was already dozing off. Unfortunately for me, my phone had other plans. The start of the race was horrible for Walker Racing, as on lap 10 Rodolfo Levin retired with a gearbox issue, and only 2 laps later Darren Manning retired from the race with a blown motor. Before I go back to sleep, let me ask one quick thing. Is it just me, or is the music that CBS played before the commercial break something you'd hear on a late night talk show?
CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Monterey will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
The pit stops came on lap 24, and it was Carpentier still holding the lead. Besides Jeff Boss basically crawling down the corkscrew for reasons that will remain a mystery because CBS never showed a replay, basically nothing was going on. Even the broadcast couldn't care less, as they spent quite a lot of time talking to Darren Manning. Well, that was until a mistake from Carpentier that nearly gave the lead to Tracy. It didn't, but I still need to talk about it anyways. The order stayed the same after the second round of pit stops, and was still the same until Paul Tracy did some rallying action coming through turn 6 on lap 57. This was soon followed by Sebastian Bourdais having a pop-off valve issue which made him drop back like a rock. The final round of pit stops came in the last 15 laps, and yet again the podium order was the same. Sebastian Bourdais retiring with 10 laps to go was really the last flash in the pan for this race. Patrick Carpentier would take a flag-to-flag win over Bruno Junqueira in second, and Paul Tracy in a very distant third. This was Carpentier's 4th Champ Car win. Michel Jourdain Jr. put on a great recovery drive to make it up to P4, holding on to the championship lead, but only just. Look, I'm not going to mince words, that race was pretty damn awful. I will say it had one positive, and that was that this race went by pretty quick. The race had an average speed of over 107.8 miles an hour. Besides that, there's not too much else to say. You could tell the race was bad when the pre-race talk in this video is actually longer than me talking about the race itself. Really, the most exciting part of this race was calling up an endodontist near me to schedule my root canal, which is quite funny because I actually scheduled that appointment while I was recording this audio. This was by far the most boring race I've ever talked about, and I hope we don't one-up it for the rest of the season. So considering that I have nothing else to say, and the fact I need to get this video done quickly considering the root canal is actually going to be the day that I post this exact video, I'm just going to leave it at that. Next up is Portland, and I hope you can join me in a week's time. I really need the ad revenue because I've got to pay for that root canal somehow. Thank you all for watching, and have a great afternoon.